media. Welcome to all dear scholars, students, and gurus, valuable gurus. నిత్య విద్యార్థులైనటువంటి అద్భుతమైనటువంటి ప్రజ్ఞా పాఠవాలైనటువంటి గురుతుల్యులు, నిత్య విద్యార్థులు ఈరోజు మన ముందు కూర్చొని ఈ డాష్ మీదకి వచ్చిన తర్వాత వాళ్ళ యొక్క గురుస్వరూపాన్ని మాత్రమే ప్రకటిస్తూ ఎప్పుడు కూడా విద్యార్థులతోటి నిత్యము నేర్చుకున్నటువంటి విద్యాస్వరూపంగా వెలుగుతున్నటువంటి మహానుభావులు ఈరోజు మనకు ఇక్కడ రావడం జరిగింది. బిఫోర్ ఇన్వైటింగ్ ద chairperson and co-chair and resource person onto the dais, ఇక్కడ నిత్య విద్యార్థులైనటువంటి ఉపాధ్యాయులు వారి గురువులు అని చెప్పేటువంటి ఒక క్రమాన్ని, ద కాంటెక్స్ట్ ఈజ్ ఇట్స్ ఎన్ ఏన్షియంట్ కాంటెక్స్ట్. విద్యార్థి పంచలక్షణ, విద్యార్థి పంచలక్షణ ఏమిటా విద్యార్థి యొక్క పంచలక్షణాలను చెప్పి నేను ఆమె ఇన్వైట్. కాక నిద్ర, కాక చేష్ట, బకధ్యానం, శ్వాన నిద్ర, తథైవ చ అల్పాహారి, గృహత్యాగి విద్యార్థి. Going to empowered once again with power. That is empowered by, enlightened by our gurus. విద్యార్థి యొక్క పంచలక్షణాలని అద్భుతమైనటువంటి ఒక సాంస్క్రిట్ టెస్ట్ లో విద్యార్థి పంచలక్షణ కాకచేష్ట, బకజ్ఞానం, శ్వాన నిద్ర, అల్పాహారి, గృహత్యాగి విద్యార్థి పంచలక్షణ. In next proceeding tracks, our wonderful gurus will expand and refer these panchalakshanas of students. So I take this privilege to
Just I came out to the dais. My mind is fully empty, what to speak and what not to speak. But yesterday, we have a little bit of transformation things yesterday. Had a discussion that the human generation's transformation. Today, before inviting the resource person to speak on this particular session, Amma Nirmala Etam session title. Industry 5.0 human-centric approach. Industry 5.0 human-centric approach. Industry 5.0 means is nothing but capability is the matter, the competence is the matter. Irrespective of the position, irrespective of the job, irrespective of anything. Maybe the job is a watchman. To perform the watchman job also needs some skills and talents or capabilities. Otherwise, the person cannot be able to perform the job of security, the job of watchman. So that human resource means equipping the skills, knowledge, competencies, aptitude, competencies, etc. to perform the given job. Everybody given some job or some assignments, some goals. And all of you working together for achievement of the individual goals to contribute the achievement of organizational goals. So that where days are going on, the human resource also evolving and gradually transforming into human capital management. At present of environment, it is a technological driven environment, technological driven businesses. That means in the place of manual, all the things being replaced with the machine. The machine is also replaced with the human resource, also replaced with the automation. That otherwise called as digitization, and digital transformation. Digitization, and digital transformation. Nothing but automation of human resources. From recruitment to every aspect of every function of human resources, operative function of human resources. Now that earlier we are getting automated applications, to scrutinize all the applications, it takes much more time to identify the eligibility of everything. At present there is a techniques of big data analysis, there is an artificial intelligence. We can apply that all the things. We come to know that from source of the candidate to current stage. From the source of the candidate to current stage. ఎక్కడ పుట్టాడు, ఏం చదువుకున్నాడు, ఎట్లా చదువుకున్నాడు, whether that all the qualifications are original or fake, what is so, just we come to know through application of artificial intelligence or big data analysis or machine learning or what is so. Means that automation helps the organization to have accuracy, to minimize the time, to minimize the operating cost. Because every organization, all of you know that, existing to maximize the profits through minimization of expenses. That is nothing but cost savings. That itself is what we call as cutting edge procedures. As part of the cutting edge procedures, you know that as many corporates also making their organization into a STRIM organization. Smart organizations. Smart means what that the volume of human resources unnecessary are working with that particular activity through application of technology. They are making into STRIM. Trimmer or what is so. That means shaping and reshaping the organizations. That particular process not only make them into a beautiful lean organization in the company, in the corporate culture, what is a corporate competitive environment, but also makes them to minimize the expenses and maximize the profits. You know that every business organization basic and ultimate aim is to maximization of profits. In that way, that every company is doing it irrespective of the nature of the organization. Maybe the techno-based, maybe the production-based, maybe the service-oriented, or what is so. Especially due to emergence of the IT sector, information technology sector, or information, what's advancement in technological aspects, you know that the contribution of human resources is very significant. So that the human resources now treated and considered as a human capital. Almost it's considered as a human capital. Earlier, to remember that organization name, we can remember with the name only. Now we can remember that organization name with people. In case we go for that Narayanamurthy, immediately we can remember that company name. In case we can go for that, Google CEO. Yes, we can remember that organization. We can remember some other, Sundar Pichai. We can remember that organization. That organization are remembering with the people because of their knowledge, because of their competencies, core competencies, etc. are very significant to making the organization into a profitable organization. But where at present, especially in Industry 5.0, the things are going on with collaborating the human resource with the human intelligence with the mission intelligence. Human intelligence with mission intelligence. Because of that, just we are getting the robotics, that some other things which are in the process of production. That is why earlier the labor transport into personnel, transport into human resource management. Now it is considering as a human capital management. At present, of course, the human capital is equipping as like that. In case of the human capital required by 2040, should be very sharp, very smart. Not only sharp, but also smart. Sharp ka kaadu, smart ka kuda undali. So that what I am advising all of the student community is concerned. Because as many of the people are settled their life, settled their career as industrial practitioners at different positions. But I am giving only one suggestion to all the students. Yesterday also I gave it. What are the things you are learning? That how to learn in an application orientation. Application orientation learning is very much important at present day of environment to acquire the required skills, to sell ourselves. Manaku man ammudupovalante means just we want to get a placements in the campus or placement in the society or placement in the competitive market environment. We should equip the skills which have been expected by the industry. So the initially all of you have to throw a light to identify what are the skills are expected by the industry. Industry aim expect chestunado mundu identify cheyali. And the same way everybody have an introspection. ప్రతి ఒక్కరు ఆత్మ పరిశీలన చేసుకోవాలి. The introspection help all of you to identify what are the weaknesses with you, what are the strengths with you. If you are having more weaknesses, just you pay attention to convert the weakness into strengths. Because it is a heavy competitive environment, highly competitive, the highly competitive environment, otherwise in academic terminology calling as cutthroat competitive environment. In the cutthroat competitive environment, we want to be an employee, we want to be a part of a particular company or what is so. We should learn, we should develop the required skills. And accordingly, if your education takes place, you would have a beautiful career. In case of you are denying, maybe that all are techno-based, so that I am unable to understand the technology. I hail from the rural background, I hail from the poor family, I hail from something, that all are nonsensing things. But nobody have to be show mercy. Ever may make Brahma Daya Zupir. The only thing what you have to make an inquiry that at what level you have the skills and competencies to perform the given assignment. That is the only thing they have to make an inquiry. Yesterday I felt very happy. I saw one clipping in newspaper. One of the person who studied MHRM in Andhra University got 1.3 crore placement. 1.3 crore package per annum placement. You can imagine what extent of effort he made to reach the particular position. కాబట్టి ఆషామాషిగా ఉంటే మనకు అవసరమైన డెవలప్ చేసుకోలేము. Everybody should pay attention. Everybody should identify that all the things. And accordingly how to take the preparation. Definitely one fine day you will reach that the particular goal. Ultimately you will set in your career. With these few remarks, I am very happy to invite the co-chair Dr. Venugopal garu to speak on few things about this particular technical session.
Good morning, my dear student friends, many of the research scholars, academicians, and delegates, the seminar director Nagaraj Garu, and technical section chairperson. He is a great icon of management studies, Tulsidas Garu, research person Veeraswamy Garu. I would like to speak a few words about Indian industrial at the rate of 2047 industry 5.0 human-centric approach for the development of India. As Indian progress towards 2047, making 100 years of independence, the future of wars, the globalization and the technical transformation of the technical change, drive for the technological changes. The development of human capital is essential for the advancement of the country, and also the knowledge cultivation, high quality education, skill development, technical literature, and holistic practice and holistic development of the entire country. Thank you for giving me a great opportunity for the seminar director Nagaraj Garu and chairperson Tulsidas Garu. Thank you for giving me a great opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Venugopal garu. Have a beautiful words about the current technical session. Now I feel great privilege to invite more resourceful. Why I am speaking as like that? Earlier just he spoke in different seminars. There, based on that observations I am speaking about his expertness. He is expert in human resources, working as a vice president, human resource, ITC agro business, Gunturu. Now I invite Veeraswamy garu to give his resources to all of you. Sir, please.
Respected faculty and student community, good morning and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts or views on the specific topic. Before we get into, I was just observing the opening of today's session by the one professor saying that, an industry practitioner and you can also make certain things and changes. The recent development that we brought in to the student community and to the industry is, you all know about, of course, Professor Nagaraj was also part of it to sometimes, because we did some deliberations on it. How many of you are from MBA background? All are MBA. When I said MBA, it is not MHR. It is only MBA. Your degree is called as MBA, not MHR. Raise your hands. Okay, whatever. The MBA qualification is not suitable to be appointed as a welfare officer in an industry, as per the Factories Act of 1947. Rule 76B talks about qualification. It says one of the subjects that student has to study is labor welfare. The olden days, 30, 40 years back, you have a lot of courses called sociology, MA, IRPM, MHRM, MA Social Work, specializing in personal management. So they were all eligible to be appointed as a welfare officers. But today, that course is not there. Everywhere we call is MBA only. In MBA, we don't see that particular course called labor welfare per se. So that's the reason that these students are not eligible. Hence, I represented to the government, the previous government, and I think I met Mr. Pitani, was the labor minister that time. We argued and we convinced, he said, I can't do anything, I don't understand much, but you go to the principal secretary of that time. The principal secretary was Banwarla at that time. So I went and met him, I made a presentation. He was also convinced, but he said nothing can be done now. Yes, we are too busy on many things. This is a too small thing for us. Then I met few more secretaries, etc., and I gave the representation and left it there. And then recent times when the new government came in, I suddenly got a call from the director of factories stating that, your request has been considered by the government. They wanted to discuss with you. Please come for a meeting. So when we went, I explained the need for change of that class, how it is prohibiting certain students to be appointed as a welfare officers, and how the industry is getting impacted despite of the lot of students who are trained, available, but because of this condition, they are not eligible to be appointed as a welfare officer. Now, I think about 3-4 months from now, the draft rules have come and put it into the public space for the industry to express their concerns if they have. Otherwise, in 45 days' time, that gazette will become the legislation. The Rule 76B of the Factories Act is being amended. That's a good news for all of you. Coming back to the second part of it, I thank ITC, I worked for it, and it has been magnanimously allowing me to participate and talk to the students like you, so in many other spaces. So it is my moral responsibility that I should talk about ITC wherever I go. ITC is an Indian company. If at all anybody believes it's a multinational, no. It's a truly an Indian company. It is into 3 sectors of the economy. You may call it as a manufacturing, you may call it as services, you may call it as agriculture. The division that I represent is a core agriculture division. Thank you. And the second, we have 200 factories across the country and pioneered in agri sector. The third sector which we are is into hotels, which is service, and IT enabled sectors. Some few glimpses that you can see. These are the brands that you may have seen. Some of you may not be knowing, but you may be using day in and day out in your everyday life. We are close to about 80,000 crores on revenue and 20,000 crores on profitability. And we are a pioneer company in terms of ESG, or what you call the sustainability practices across the country, and we even compete on certain global standards, including US and other European companies. This is Royal Bengal, recently opened in Calcutta. We spent about 1,000 crores on building this hotel. This is Bhadrachalam PSPD factory. This is agri sphere that we operate. This is a spices factory in Guntur, newly started. Adjacent to it, one more factory is coming up. The agri-business division, which I work or represent, we are into 200 commodities like like wheat, soya, tobacco, spices, etc., present in 22 states and 220 districts across the country. Our presence is in these places. These are the commodities that we deal in the locations. Well, the third and the core area that for the day, I have a question for all of you. When does the civilization started? What is civilization? Transforming from an animal to a human. So when does it started? When can you say that a significant time or a development when civilization started? Okay, it will be difficult to ask individual question. Human used to rely on hunting, and he is subjected to many wild animals or boars or whatever it is. The day human learned on curing or healing the femur bone, that was the day of civilization started. Because if he can't move, because where the femur bone, other than any other bone, you can still stand, move around, do something. But when your femur bone is subjected to any kind of a difficulty, you will not be able to stand up or move anywhere. You can't find your food. So the day the human learned how to heal the femur bone, that is the day the civilization started. It is for the survival of those human beings, and from there that we progressed. The word quote and unquote progressed. Now the real topic is, why are we talking about industry or Vikasit Bharat 2047? I know it has a significance of 100 years of independence. So why are we talking about? Why can't we 2050? Why can't we be another 100 years? Why can't we to 2030? Why it is so? Because we need to develop, we need to progress from the current state to a desired state where certain things are required. So you have an occasion of that, you completed 100 years of independence. Taking that as a cue, there has been some thoughtfulness by the leaders. They made it during these 100 years. We wanted to make like your MBO, management by objectives, right? Similarly, for 2047, they conceived a thought, they conceived an idea, they had a plan, they wanted to achieve it. And it requires a whole lot of things. What is that government will do, what is that people has to do, what is the industry has to do, various do's and don'ts that are required has also been envisaged. That is the context of your industrial development, or you call it as Vikasit Bharat is overall development when it comes to industrial development 2047, specifically on the industry of 3 core sectors. I think the theme, the topic has been very thoughtfully made. It talks about industrial development 2047, and it doesn't stop there. It also encompasses 2 more areas, that is called Industry 5.0 as well as human-centric approach or human-centric development. HCD is called, but otherwise it's also known as human development, human-centric approach. So we will spend some time about the industry, overall economy, because you need to understand economy, then only you will be able to come down, drill down further and be able to understand. Then we'll come to Industry 5.0, and then we also spend some time on HCD. It goes like this. We will see certain global economies, India's growth story so far, Vikasit Bharat 2047, what government is talking about, how it is that possible, how can we make it realizing that objective, the sectorial classification, 5.0 and HCD. This has been the trend, the current global economies. As usual, United States is on the toppest with about 30 billion trillion dollar economy, followed by China and Germany and Japan and India more or less on the same state. This is what it is. We were at 5, we were at 6, we were at 7, but we have made a significant progress on various counts. So we reached to a third or fourth stage or a state where we interchange frequently with Japan and India. Sometimes we go ahead by 0.1 trillion, sometimes Japan goes ahead, but we have a concrete plan to move ahead of Japan. Why? Because Japan's economy grows at 1% or at 0.5%, but whereas Indian economy is growing on an average about 7%. So it is very clear, not only in this year, even traditionally also we have been growing in those ranges. So it is obvious that we will surpassing Japanese economy in quite a few years time, very short span of time. Because Japan is mostly a mature economy, but India is still a developing economy where we have a room or a scope for improvement, but Japan has reached to a status quo. Their growth comes predominantly by investing elsewhere rather than generating domestically. This is about year-on-year GDP growth in terms of percentage. What we have seen is total volume of economy. Now you see from the year 1951 to 52, how did Indian economy grow over the years. You have a very bad years like 81, 82 and 20 and 21, that's because of COVID. We were deep down. Please understand, you being a management students, you need to understand the economy and the mega trends. If you don't understand the mega trends, speaking about your own HR or management is only standalone subject. You will not be able to connect your function to the business. In order to make that, you need to understand these things. If somebody is, economically challenged, economically when I say it's by subject, or engineeringly challenged, you have to adapt and cope up rather than saying that, okay, no, economy is not my area, I will remain only in recruitment. No, it's not the way.
Can you come back to previous slide? What happened during 78, 79?
I do not know exactly. I was also very kid. But this data has been very reliable, and because it has come from authentic source of the government of India, as well as NASCOM also has been ratified on the same grounds, and also PwC is also has got a similar representation. Similarly, for the years later on from 51 to 52 to 75, 76, this is the growth rate. And 77 to 2001, again, these are the numbers that India represents. And 21 to 24 currently, these are our country's growth rates. On an average, we are about 6.5 to 7%. At particular year that we crossed about 9.2, but otherwise our average growth rate is about 6.5 to 7%, which we can consider. But whereas China is ahead of 9%. I think this we have already seen the global economy that we have seen in terms of $1 trillion. But whereas now, year-wise, if you see how did our economy grow, and when it comes to 2046 or 47, we want to become a $35 trillion economy. How is that possible? Is that possible? Currently we are about close to 4.5 trillion, and by 47 we want it to be $35 trillion, almost like current United States economy in terms of volume. That is a vision. It's called BHAG. Big, hairy, audacious goal. This is the per capita that envisaged. If you look at 2023 versus 2030, the sectorial representation is the 54% is services, 26% is industry, and 20% is agriculture. By the time it comes to 2030, and the 20% agri will become 17, will come down, and the 54 will become 56, which is services, IT and IT related, banking, etc., etc. And your 26 will become 29, that is industrial development. Further, to up to 47, is going to be 54 service sector, 34 is industrial sector, and 12 will be the agri sector. And it has been correlating with the global economies. The developed economies are mostly dependent on services and the industry rather than agri. They are as 2%, 5%, 6%, 10%, but whereas predominantly we were about 17-18%, but now it is 2047, we are anticipated to be at 12%, but it has a lot of pitfalls or drawbacks. How do we address the food shortage that is required for globally, because we are a significant exporter, and we cut down our produce in terms of agriculture and focusing on industry and services. Who will feed these hungry stomachs of the global is going to be the question. If you look at other sectors, countries, Switzerland is about agricultural dependence is 0.6%, but services are almost 72%, and industry is about 25%. That's what I said, it is correlating. Norway, 1.7% agri, 42% industry, 42% service, 50% is industry. And you look at Japan is 1% agri, 72% services, and 27% industry. We are also statistically moving in those directions by 2047. Okay, these are the employment generations. This is the first question that I have asked you all. What happens? What do we do in this legacy plan of 2047? The primary objective or the focus is to creating a prosperous and self-sufficient nation. We borrow every year from one country or the other. We wanted to be independent, and we wanted to make a progress from the current state to another state. And the growth prospects should reach to all the people. Not like 80%, 20% of the population is owning the 80% of the GDP of the country, but it needs to be equally distributed. That is also one objective of the Viksit Bharat. Sustainable development. And it's not that what we do is only for one time, we need to sustain. We will be Indian firms in top 100 or 3 to 4 champions across the sector. Like Reliance is in fuel or petroleum, is in fuel or petroleum. Similarly in semiconductor, can we be one company like Apple in India? Or if not Apple, you say Goa, some other company. Across the globe. You are 1, 2, 3, 4th of the global. You are 1, 2, 3, 4th of the global. So those kinds diverse workforce, diverse workforce. Obviously, now what is happening? Whether sustainability practice gives, you are looking at a male population, ignoring the female population. Currently, I'm talking about, not at this point of time, on the future. So that means they are not fit for me. So the statement says here, you bring those people also, equip them in education, equip them with a skill, and also shows the diversity gives you higher productivity as well. Second right. And the third most, you need to have a cutting edge infrastructure. And urban we are okay to some extent. Rural we are pretty bad. Our agricultural land parcels are too small. You can't deploy any Europe or South Americas, where the land parcels are into hundreds of acres, and anything that is done through mechanization, including a fertilizer. In India, for my own 2 acre piece of land, I bring a chopper and put up. By the time I put it, will go to somebody else's land, not on my land. Right? So, but this requires a change. Bringing change in terms of cutting edge infra, it also a change in terms of a social approach. Because we are not ready for a cooperative agriculture. We have been talking about cooperative agri, but I am. And the next is cooperative. Cooperative, not corporate. It is corporate means you have to, not corporate. It is corporate means you have to take it on a lease and do it on a separate method. Or this is about, like 20, now we're talking about government, central government, Mr. Modi talking about FPOs. FPOs are nothing but come together and produce together and sell together, take an advantage out of it. We have about 5,000 FPOs that we created as an ITC in Northern India. We are also coming to the South India. Infrastructure or a cutting edge technology. Okay, whatever you produce, please bring it to one common platform. And look at where is that you have a highest margin that you can sell it to them. Obviously, we wanted to bid. There is nothing we could do on, making the land pieces larger. Production, mass production. Look at China. They produce to the extent it dumps extra at a time that other countries has to put a moratorium that you can't dump on it. Is such dump will have a tax. So surplus production and export-led production, where the customer needed those produce price. Of course, nobody will produce them. Then that will take you to these core objectives of 2047. Sustainability. You have energies. You have. Don't look at sustainability as a CSR or a good to have. It is necessary. Now we are talking about green hydrogen, green fuel, where you convert water into a fuel. Currently, such conversion is taking more cost, but by 2030 it will be cheaper by 50%. So when the companies that are getting this opportunity, this is what the McKinsey talks about, will be the pioneer companies in the country for the future. So you replace your conventional energy with renewable energy, and where you are not polluting anything. Currently, the 6 largest industries, cement, power, etc., steel, are highly pollution producing companies. So you need to be sustainable, not only for the sake of competing in the global origin, but also to reduce your cost. Technology leader, high focus on R&D and innovations. You need to produce, bring lots of innovations and lot of R&D needs to be done on many areas. When you talk about R&D, we will get into, HCD, human-centric design, which is relative. Now further, the enablers to do all these are global competitiveness through technology. So how do we achieve these 6 vectors? Are by these 4 macro enablers. Globally competitive through technology. You bring in AI, machine learning, or whatever you bring in. But this would help you to drive these 6 core markers. The second is greater skilled labor force participation. I mean, I was listening to the Chief Minister on APE. He was talking about for the future what is required is renewable energy. He's talking about the resourcing. He's talking about technology. These 3 are, human resources. These are the 4 things that he's talking about. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, human resources, and the sustainability. These are the 4 things. And absolutely they are right. If you don't have a people, it's like, you won't have, your body doesn't have a blood. You can't move, you are paralyzed. If you don't have money, you can borrow money from a bank or from somewhere else. But if you don't have people, how will you produce? How will you sell? You can't do that. And you need to have advanced manufacturing capabilities. Because I am focusing on industry only, not in general in any other things. Advanced manufacturing practices that comes through innovation and R&D or any other need-based technology needs to be deployed in order to achieve Vikasit Bharat of 2047. The last but not the least, we talked about sustainability. Sustainability is going to be the largest field, even better than your MBA in future. It gives money. Your HR, you only spend money. Please be mindful about it. So this is the way that we realize the Vikasit Bharat of 2047, the industry need to play in these kind of roles. There are many other things because we don't have a lot of time. So there are certain sectors that will drive this change further coming in. Automobile is going to be now, just look at Europe or United States. Every individual will possess a car. Come what may be, maybe a small job or a bigger job. Same thing could happen for India or any other developing and underdeveloped country in future. If 2047 to be the reality, every individual will possess one type or another type of a car. So the automobile is going to be flourishing. It is the area and the core focus on industrialization will be automobile and the automobile labor. FMCG, it is inevitable that you need to have fast-moving consumable goods, especially of food items, food-related products, from 557 billion by 2028 from 307 billion US dollars. The financial tech services and your information technology, let's talk about. You have a banking sector, various type of hedging, etc. that happens. And also India is pioneering in information technology, there's no doubt about it. Pharma is another important area. We talked about sustainability. In the sustainability, the renewable energy, that for your information, 60% of the power that overall ITC uses is coming through windmills, not from Singareni, Colliery, coal. We achieved 60% renewable energy, only 40% more, and another 10 years time we're going to be 100% on renewable energy. That is a pressing need for our business. Other areas are infrastructure development. You need roads, you need tech parks, you need various kind of infrastructures, irrigation and non-irrigated. renewable energy we talked about, R&D, semiconductor business is also going to be the biggest factor that's going to play a role in by 2047, and the digital transformation that happens through the artificial intelligence. That's about that. Coming back to Industry 5.0, I think somebody already discussed about how this industrialization has evolved. Currently we are at Industry 4.0, we are talking about Industry 4.5. I will not take much time on this. If you want, I can leave this presentation to you. But remember one thing. Industrialization alone would not help us anymore. Or your automation alone will not help us anymore. It requires some more things. It requires a human touch. Now we are talking about cobots, not a robot, a collaborative bot that will interface with human and for the human needs. So far, whatever you bring in cutting edge technology of automation, IoT or AI, etc., is all fine, but it should collaborate with human being. It cannot see human beings separately or independently. That is about Industry 5.0. So looking at any technology that you bring in, any automation, any robotics that you bring in, it should not displace the human element. It should collaborate the human element with the human element and lead to the productivity or reduction of cost. Reduction of cost itself is about increasing productivity. And you will see that in future, chief robotic officer, or it can also be chief, cobotics officer also, like you got a CHRO, you got a CFO, you got a CTO, technology officer. And very soon you will get to see this chief robotic officer as well. Coming back to human-centered design. Design or approach, you can see interchangeably used words. And this is not a new concept. It has been there for a long time. While in 1960 it got articulated by Dr. Norman, who is a psychology professor, through his book Everyday Things of Psychology. I think that's the fundamental book from where the things have been changed. It was reprinted in 1988. Further, modification that has happened. Otherwise, it's not a new concept. The approach that you have towards other things, seeing a problem as a system, not as a one single individual problem. I'll take you certain examples here. While it has an approach of 6 points, understand what is required, you do a co-pilot and you do evaluate, you produce, you test, etc. All those things are there. I'll just give you some live examples so that you understand better. While I was entering here, I pushed the door. I don't know, some of you might have observed, but the door did not open. So the door was not friendly to me. It could have been written push or pull. The door design itself little, is a plant. There should have been a mark. I'm not saying that the university needs to be upgraded, no. I'm just giving an example to understand what is human-centric design. A board of pull or push could have been helped me so that I could have easily walked to. So I state, or rather we can assume, this is not human-centric design or an approach. I give you another example. A differently abled individual student wanted to participate in this conference and he is a wheelchair bound. How would he come from outside? So this building is not human-centrically designed. Sir, am I running out of time?
No, please, sir, please go.
It is not. And I give you another example. Johnson & Johnson was a great company. Before your revolution of vision missions coming in, the company used to have a credo, which is nothing but a statement of purpose. In those statement of purpose, it used to have, what would Jesus do in a given situation of ethical nature? Supposing they released a medicine, they released a product to the market. After releasing, they found out there is a defect. What do we do? So those kind of ethical situations, they think that, okay, what would Jesus do? So they bring in, okay, perhaps Jesus might have done this. Please recall the product. You have seen a lot of car companies, after selling, they recall those cars because there is a defect into it. Because probably you will meet with an accident if that is not rectified. That is human-centered design. Another example which you all use, and this is an innovation by an Andhra student, 9th student, your red bus. For one Ugadi, he wanted to come from Bangalore to Hyderabad that time. He couldn't find any bus. He was running around one traveler to another travels. He says not available, that you go there. But finally he couldn't able to find out. He said, come on, let me create a platform where people like me can see all the buses available, and the buses also come onto my platform, so I can choose which bus I can travel it. This is human-centric design or an approach, right? Especially when it comes to technology, very dangerous technology like atomic energy, that you are doing it. You all know that Baba Atomic Research Center in Bombay, which is adjacent to my hostel building when I was a student, there used to be a reactor operator. There's a fusion that happens there, nuclear fusion that happens. If the operator goes on one single day leave, it is written in the policy, the next day when he comes back, he will automatically become an assistant operator. So that is a human-centric approach. By any chance, if the other operator did not pass on certain information to the resumed or a person who went on leave, he will assume that, okay, day before yesterday what we was doing was the same. But any change, any kind of a small danger will be disastrous to the country and the world environment. And that's the reason they kept it such a way that next day, I will not take away your pay, but you will become an assistant operator for a week time. You will work under him. That is called human-centric design. And similarly, any other technology that you are doing in aviation, you call in Japanese technique called pokoyoke. Even if you want to do it, you can't do it. Right? Because it is controlled, you can't do this activity because there is a danger involved. Though it has system has been designed such a way that so you will not be able to have an access to do those things. Right? Now, just assume you are walking into a supermarket and you are attending a phone that we are all used to, no? And you have a phone and you have a bag, and one side you want to enter into the supermarket. The door is closed. Who will open it for you? Security is not there. Now the human design is there. There is a sensor. The door automatically opens by sensing there is somebody is coming in. It's called human design centric design. design approach, both are interchangeably used, can be used, but a slight difference. When I say, rather operationally I claim it my way, approach is one-to-one, more of a personal. Or rather, when I decided to leave my previous company, Murugappa Group, and wanted to join ITC, the chairman called me one day because I used to work with him. He told me, the decision that you take based on your mind, calculation, methodology, etc., even if they go wrong in future, you will repent. But if you take a decision based on your heart, even if you fail in future, you don't repent. Because what is your brain says, what is my role, what will be my increment, what will be my total CTC when I move to other company, etc., etc. These are all calculations that go into the mind. But what happens to my heart? How do I leave these people whom I have worked for so many years? Chairman has been called me 3 times to his house for a dinner, specially. He don't invite many of the people. And the relation that I built, the comforts that I enjoy, what will happen, all those things. So he gave me an approach of, while you are taking a decision, be a human-centered approach rather than cubed by numbers. I will also give you another example. I think this might be much easier. When I joined ITC, there was Chirala factory used to have 2,600 employees, workers. Now they have only 1,700 employees. Rest of the people, मैंने खा लिया उनको. I have eaten away. I have eaten away without any pain for them. I have reduced the people because of automation. While we bring in an automation, we made it in such a way that, okay, none of them will go out of the job. I will not ask you to leave tomorrow. I will not put you to the road. When you retire, I will not take your replacement. Your replacement is going to be my machine. Why would they say no? Even for initially they say no, but that is not a sustainable argument. Right? Making sense? So this is called human-centric design or an approach that one need to follow. Just quickly, I think this is what the Einstein states, while I was on there. I fear the day when the technology overlaps with our humanity, the world will only have a generation of humans. While technology is required, but the technology without a human touch is not helping the society anyway. So have an empathy, look at something, there is a disabled individual that is coming in, he wanted to participate. What is that I can do, being an architect of this building? So empathize with him. Then says, needs, understand the needs and aspirations of the individual and find an effective solution. Make a product, test the product, implement and evaluate and see that it is helping the individual. Any technology or any act that you do should help the individual and it should not separate the individual from it. Test, refine, improve, product design, service development, organizational culture. You got a mobile apps, etc., etc. That's all, my friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veeraswamy garu. At the very beginning of Veeraswamy garu's speech, I categorically revealed that he is a resourceful of resource person. I think everybody enjoyed the resources what he delivered in this particular technical session. He covered lot many issues. Initially started with about ITC. Later on, is keeping his presentation to global economic scenario, Indian economic growth rates, sectoral contributions to GDP. But something sectoral contribution, maybe the service sector present contribution is nearly about 65%. But still, what the sources just you are presented there shows only the 54%.
For state or country, you are saying?
Country. India. Yes, as many books, just I read that, just I referred, identified that the service sector contribution to GDP is around 65%. Followed by that industry sector and finally agriculture sector. Okay, sectoral contribution to GDP, transformation of growth, sustainable development, promoting transparency, that is of course maybe దాన్ని ఏమంటారు నేతి బీరకాయలో నెయ్యి సందం మరి ముఖ్యంగా భారతదేశానికి వస్తే ట్రాన్స్పరెన్సీ విషయంకి వచ్చేటప్పటికల్లా తర్వాత గ్లోబల్ ఇండస్ట్రీ లీడర్స్, దట్ ఈస్ ఆల్సో అనదర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ వన్. We have two global industry leaders in India. One is Mittal, another one is at Reliance and Mittal. I think Mittal also recently identified as one of the fair man by USO and booked a case against that illegal activities of the business way. And diverse workforce, that is that inclusive workforce. Last year also we conducted, the Department of Human Resource Management conducted one beautiful seminar, that the diversity, equity and inclusion. Diversity, equity and inclusion. That it means not only inclusion of women employees but also inclusion of